Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures.
For the past 6 years, we have released weekly episodes
covering obstacle course racing,
road running, and other adventures.
You'll hear interviews,
event recaps,
conversations about our sport,
and quick news updates about the happenings in our community.
standing on the corner,
And now, here are your hosts.
lost all my clothes.
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Hey guys, it's Michael Stefano.
And Caitlin Ritter. And Michael, how was your weekend?
Pretty good. It was a weird one. Friday I tried to make it productive. It wasn't as productive as I would have liked.
Because why?
Why?
Because I left my computer at school, so
Yeah.
at like 5:30 somebody was able to let me in, so we had to drive to my school to go get my computer.
Right, and then yesterday I wanted to be productive, and then we met up with friends. Thought it was going to be like a short little thing, and then my bad influence.
Was the one that was trying to get us to leave before dinner, and then you told me that I was no fun, and now that you're Team Zelly and you want to go out.
Well, yeah. I was with Chris, and then next thing I knew, I was drinking my face off, so that happened. Also, still trying to fix our heat. I put trying to fixed our heat. Nope, still trying to fix it. No heat upstairs.
Nope.
Luckily, it's warm this weekend, but one of our spare bedrooms was down to like 39 degrees.
No, you said it was 42.
Nope, I took a picture after. It was down to 39.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very, very scary. So, cross your fingers that our pipes don't freeze, please. And shout out to our sponsors.
Mudgear, use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase, and Caterpie, use code OCRReport20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase.
Perfect.
They could be great Christmas gifts, or Hanukkah gifts,
That's pretty great.
or Kwanzaa gifts,
all the holidays,
or Festivus for the rest of us gifts.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna shout out the $5+ Patreon supporters:
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Dave Claxton, Bradley Keel, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Sophia Harnedy, Kenny West, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Johnson, Nick Riker, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Kevin Prater, Wendell Lagash, Logan Nagel, Patrick Brown, Asa Connington, Seth Rinderknech.
Yes. And Hank and Arlene Stefano and Laura and Stephen Ritter.
Yes. Did you just forget the name of my parents?
No, I was just going to say just before we hit record, we got a call from my grandmother too. So, yeah, thanks for the support. And to the OCR Report, being a great home for us on the internet.
And to Will Hicks.
The Podfather, check it out over at theocrreport.com. They did a little Christmas-themed name post. It really took off. It just started as an inside joke in our group message, and next thing you know, it posted it on Instagram.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good time.
I was quite proud of the ones that I came up with.
Yeah, you had your best one was Jesse Spruce.
Yes.
That's really good. And then to our sponsored athletes:
Javier Escobar, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizzalara, and Joshua Reed.
Perfect. Let's get to some quick news, starting with 2 poll results. So, my first poll, which was in regards to last episode when I was talking about how we didn't get nominated, which, by the way, I stand by everything I said, but I meant to say that we've had more guests this year than all the other podcasts combined, which is true. And also, I love all the other podcasters. Everyone knows that. I think that the big solution is just to let more people be nominated, athletes and all the other people too, because
I think for somebody who does not usually care what people think about them,
it's like the one time a year.
It's
a one time a year. Yeah, because I miss the good old days when a lot of things would get nominated and then it was good for exposure. But so I said, what should we do better? 0% of people said better audio quality. Well, that's nice. 0% of people said better guests. That's fair. I don't think I could do better guests. We've been getting all the best ones. 17% said less Mike and Caitlin banter.
That's my favorite part of this podcast is our banter.
It's the only part you do. 83% is other, and most people wrote in and just explained that they were also frustrated with the nomination process too, which made me feel a little bit better, but it's still frustrating that okay, well, what are we going to do about it? But yeah, it is what it is. Maybe next year I won't put too much stock into it. Then since almost no one voted in that one, which fair. Caitlin, you did this next poll.
I said, how often do you get a bloody nose? And 14% of people said at least once a month, 3% said every 3-ish months, 7% said once a year, and 76% of people, or 22 people who voted in this poll, said I couldn't tell you the last time I had one.
Which I'm in the latter category. Caitlin's in the first.
I get at least one bloody nose a month.
At least. It's been two in the past week.
Okay, but I'm also sick, so I've been blowing my nose a lot.
Fair. Maybe you're just doing it wrong.
I think I do it too hard.
You can vote for the OCR Buddy Community Choice Awards. I think there's like 1 or 2 more days left of that. Also, the OCR report posted with OCR Buddy the 2024 North American OCR calendar. So that's pretty good. It has all events from Canada, United States, and Mexico. Speaking of events, well, this one isn't going to be happening. Spartan Arabia posted that they canceled Korfaken event. Caitlin?
They posted, for the last 10 years, we have represented the Spartan brand in the Middle East. Seeing that our core values do not align with the founder of Spartan Race, we have decided to not continue our relationship with the Spartan brand. To all our amazing racers, thank you for a decade filled with thrilling challenges, enduring friendships, and boundless love and respect. You'll forever hold a special place in our hearts.
Yeah, so that is pretty crazy. They're definitely putting their money where the mouth is for that. And some more not-so-great news. Caitlin?
The destruction of Tahiti's coral reefs begin in preparation for the Paris 2024 events. Wait, they're destroying the...
Yep, so also they can build a tower so they can announce for like the surfing competition and stuff like that. There's a barge that was going to like deliver some supplies and it got caught up on the corals and just like devastated it.
Oh, so it wasn't intentional.
No, but well, now they're going... This initial part was not intentional, but they're going to like build something on the seafloor, which the problem with destroying the coral is that it releases like a parasite that like kills the fish, and then obviously people eat fish. It's gonna be it's bad.
I love the Olympics. I don't. Will say that, but for the fact that they're destroying nature and the coral reefs for one event that they're gonna host that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so people are calling for surfers to just not compete. Which is kind of tricky because if you spend 4 years training for something, I can kind of get why they would compete.
Right, that is crazy. Oh, I saw this. Lindsay Webster and Ryan Atkins bought a farmhouse. They said people must think we're crazy. Our beautiful, more modern and functional house is up for sale, and now we're trading it in for an 1890s farmhouse that needs a whole lot of renovations.
Yeah. Fast forwarding to the most important part of this, though.
Mini cows?
Yes, mini cow coming this spring. If you don't know what a mini cow is, you are missing out. So now is the time to click this mini cow. And I did that.
And they're so cute.
Yes. Especially that one. Look at that.
I know. So their puppies are going to be running around with mini cows.
Their pets just got cuter. I don't know how they did it.
Can we get a cow?
No.
I like the derpy cows.
Derpy cow?
Do you know what they look like?
No.
It's called a Highlands cow.
Oh.
Look how cute they are.
Yeah, there's no way that they look like emo cows. They got like hair slicked over their eyes. Another news, Samuel Kohler, a.k.a. Shades OCR, is going to be transitioning to triathlon and video editing. So instead of Shades OCR, he created an additional account, I guess, Shades Edits. So best of luck with him in pursuing triathlon.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This comes to us from Evan Prepares.
He released a book. It's called
like his 8th book or something.
The Sponsored Athletes, a practical guide to offsetting costs and making money from racing.
Yeah, I know that he's been talking about this book for a while, but yeah, it's available digitally as well as physical edition. I'll probably be ordering a physical edition because I like to add books to my library.
I just added a book to our library.
Oh, nice. Is it a sexy time book?
Ew. I hate that that's what you call me.
I paused because I'm like, do I make the joke? And I did.
It's a Colleen Hoover book.
I don't know. Is that a yes? She hasn't answered, so I think that's a yes. I was editing on the drive to like New Jersey, and all of a sudden I hear sexy time stuff. I'm like,
that's
all right.
not like the basis of the whole story.
I think it is.
It was one scene.
It was a few scenes. It's constant sexual tension there. But people didn't come here for sexual attention. They came to hear about more events like...
Two Punk Kids.
Yeah, the TPK Winter Camp. So, links as always for all of these like full news stories. Go and click down below. But it sounds like a good entry-level endurance event. It's going to be January 12th. It starts at 9 p.m. and it goes on for quite a long time.
What exactly is it?
It's it's like kind of like a death race experience, but not as hard.
Never mind.
More like hurricane heat-ish.
Is it like fun?
I mean, a little bit of suffering. It's going to be cold. But it's he said it's definitely supposed to be more of like an entry level event for people that are into that kind of stuff.
Like, do I need to do that kind of stuff?
Right. And some unfortunate news I saw before we recorded.
Meg Julian posted, "This is hard to say, but last week my grandpa passed away. I'm still in shock and sad, but also grateful that we celebrated the holidays early and I got to spend precious time with him and my family. I will miss his laughter, stories, toughness, unfiltered excitement, and insatiable sweet tooth. He was my biggest cheerleader, and I'll never forget how supported he made me feel. My parents were rare and special people. They both lived long and happy lives, and I will forever cherish the little moments we shared, especially those I was able to record."
Yeah, she always had like a lot of good videos posted with her grandparents. I know that we've seen at least a few of them that were really cute. So I sent her my apologies, and we bonded over the fact that both of our grandparents are our biggest supporters.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Mine are all dead.
This is true. I'm going to transition over to some world record news.
Hunter... Ew.
Yep.
Ew. Hunter McIntyre posted Daddy's Back, new world record, 53 minutes and 23 seconds.
This is for High Rocks, yep. And then another High Rocks...
Please tell me it's not phrased that way.
No. Mommy's back. No.
Ew, stop. World record. Incredible. What a performance. This girl is on another level. Pure madness.
Yeah, that's Meg Jacoby, who's an animal, representing Noob Sanity. We have some additional Deka news that wasn't posted by the time we recorded last time.
There's a new co-ed team Deka Mile world record, and surprise, it is Kevin Gregory and Carla Rotondi, yeah. He was the one that you heard in the interview. He's the one that he trampled and pushed into a bush. Remember how I told you I was watching that thing live? And it was very, very funny. Did you ask him, is that his dog on his shirt?
Yes. Oh yeah, we talked about that 2 years ago when he was on the podcast before. Here it is. Some news before we get into the Deka Strong podiums. Dr. Alondra Greenlee and Camilla Mesa.
Dr. Alondra?
Oh yeah, she's a badass. Are now 2023 Deka Strong co-champions. Since Alondra's sled was set incorrectly prior to the race, both women will receive first place rams and first place prize money. The hybrid racing media said we spoke at length with Yancey to find out what happened and how the situation was handled. And from what little I know about hybrid racing and hearing Yancey talk about this, I think it was handled really well. So congratulations to Yancey. I mean, bummer that this happened in the first place, but I think that's the best way to settle what had happened there. Which leads us to the Deka Strong World Championship podiums.
In third place, Ryan Kent. In second place, Rylan Shadegg. And in first place, Kevin Gregory.
Nice. And then for the women.
In third place, Carly Wupat. In second place, Camilla Massa. And in first place, Alondra Greenlee.
Which we now know both are tied for first.
Dr.
Alondra Greenlee.
If I had a doctor, I would put that on everything. I would make the OCR report, call me Dr. Caitlin Renner.
Was that Frank's Red Hot Sauce? Put that shit on everything?
I would, actually.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And now we're going to transition to Spartan 3K World Championships that happened in Abu Dhabi.
In third place, Exter?
Oh, have I been spelling it wrong? Or they messed up? I think they messed up. It's Esther.
Esther Horbajivis.
Hortobagiova.
In second place, Elisa Petruva. And in first place, Lindsay Webster. And for the men, in third place, Ryan Atkins. In second place, Pavel Harida. And in first place, VJ Jones.
Yeah, one of them I reached out to have on the show earlier. And need to reach out again because I really want to have that person on the show. And then for the Beast, which I guess is also technically a World Championship event, I guess.
In third place, Nicolaj Dam. In second place, Gregory Basilio. And in first place, Ryan Atkins.
Basilico. Yeah, and I think it's Nikolai. I think the J is silent for that. And for the ladies.
In third place, Sandy Abin. In second place, Lindsay Webster. And in first place, Esther Hortobaccio.
That actually sounded really good. That sounded good. Rolled off the tongue. Esther Hortobagiova. And we are going a little bit long here, but we're doing the meme of the week because I had it last week and then
I crushed your dreams.
Couldn't use it, yeah, because Caitlin came up with one.
Okay, it is 4 panels. In the top left one, it says, so the Mizunos felt good, huh? Size 10.5. Oh, it's a woman selling shoes and a guy's on his phone. And the guy on his phone says, yep, out of everything I tried, those are the winners. And the girl says, great, can I ring you up? And he goes, nah, I'm good. I just found them cheaper online. And then it pans into the woman's like face. She's like cringing. And then in the last panel, they're in the emergency room. The guy is on a stretcher, and it said, this guy had a running shoe lodged where? And she goes, not one, it's the pair.
That was a good one. All right, and then 5 secret links down below. Go and check those out. But let's finally get to what this episode's all about. So, Deka World Championships happened, and while this is primarily an OCR show, it is like a cousin sport. So it sounded like it was a really good time. Yeah, something like that. And I heard how well my former coach, Kevin Gregory, did. And I was more than happy to have him back on the show for his own episode. So he won the Deka Fit Co-Ed team, Deka Mile Co-Ed team, Deka Strong Elite, Deka Strong Co-Ed, and Deka Strong Men's Races. Did I say that right? Yeah, there was a lot. So that's 5 World Championship titles. Let's get right to Bubbles. We'll start with your name and where you're from.
Hi, Kevin Gregory, also known as Bubbles the Clown, currently of Wallingford, Connecticut.
Yes, because you no longer abandoned us for Florida. You missed New England much, huh?
I abandoned Florida. I missed the cold weather. There's no cold water there. You can't even take a cold shower. There's no cold water anywhere in the whole state. It's crazy.
Nope. So last time we had you on the show, you had more recently started your gym of Underdog Fitness. How's business going?
It's amazing. I think when I moved to Florida, I had an awesome guy that was training out of here, taking over the day-to-day operations. He did a great job, like running classes and whatnot. He's not an OCR guy, but he can run a great class for general fitness, and that's what I need him to do. I continued my training of the OCR athletes and Underdog, the podium chasers. I did all that online, which is mostly what I do anyway, so it wasn't a huge change. And then since I got back, being in person, being fired up, because I came back mid-September, like right when Deka qualification season ended. So we knew who was going to Deka Worlds, or at least who qualified, and then we were just trying to piece together who was going to make the trip. And it's just been like hair on fire since. Like the athletes on our team were qualified, we're going. Then we put out a training program for other qualifiers from other gyms and had huge following for that. So we had a bunch of clients that are not our local underdogs or even part of the team that trained with us leading in, and so excited to meet all these people because I didn't really meet most of them in the past couple Californian people and all over the country, but getting to meet them in face to face, and then watching them perform and cheering for them and meeting their families, and their families just being so appreciative that we were willing to help them out and them getting podiums. And I'm like, I made a difference in that athlete's life, and I don't care. Like, I hope they take what they learned from me and apply it to all their athletes, or like some of them are trainers. So they're training people for Deka. Like, take everything I taught you and teach your people and make your people better. And that makes the whole sport better. And obviously all of our athletes that we had before coming in, and athletes that were supposed to win, and athletes that were getting in on a roll down, like, oh, well, I did okay, but, oh, I got a qualification, I'm going to go, showing up at Worlds, getting top 10. So it was like top to bottom, heart full. Just didn't compete in anything. She didn't try to qualify all year, so whatever, but she was there. Like, all of our voices, like anyone like that was there, lost their voice and cheering for people. And all the videos, like I watch videos of other people, I'm like, oh, there's Jess like running in the cheer for someone that we don't even know at the finish line, or Amber and Zach from Canada at Pure Impact. Like, we have such a tight bond. We met each other last year at Worlds, and throughout the year just grew closer to closer, and their people were there and our people were there, and it's just like compounded the amount of excitement. So every time someone was racing, there was like 2 to 3 cheerleaders screaming at them to step up their game and go. And what an incredible weekend. I'm still floating. Like, I haven't slept that well. But it doesn't matter. Like, I'm so wired and just so excited for everybody. And 2024 is going to be like 1,000 times better now. I don't even know I don't even know what I want to go for, not just as an individual, but as a coach. But whatever it's going to be, is I'm still trying to hash it out. Things I've been blessed to have phone calls from all kinds of people that I've like known throughout the years. I don't really talk to all the time. Like, Hunter called me the other day, and I was like, oh shit. He was like always like the big guy in the sport I looked up to. So to get that shout out, that was like super cool. But
it's awesome. I mean, it sounds like, obviously it's vastly on the other side of the spectrum, but it almost seemed like World's Toughest Mudder in the sense of like a wicked love fest, fitness kind of community, long weekend kind of event thing, to the point where, and we spoke a little bit before I recorded, but like hybrid racing isn't really my thing, but listening to people in the OCR report talking about it, listening to OFX podcast talking about it, like, man, I wish I was there. I feel like I missed out on a really, really good time because good people,
Yeah, I think you mentioned World's Toughest, and I feel like the filling of your cup and the full charge I got from being at World's Toughest last month and watching. I know Fiore didn't end up podiuming because he banged up his rib, but being able to like co-pit, I was helping. I wasn't his pit at all, but I was like there and helping, watching him because he's such a great athlete and high expectations and putting his plan to play and just executing all night. And then just that one minor thing at the bottom, I was able to run a lap with him when I did go on the course and just watching him gut it out and do his best like that was awesome from like an athlete and friend perspective.
Yeah.
But then also like friends like Austin Azar, who I've known since the Spartan Combine in 2015, winning, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so excited for Austin to win. And Callie, like these guys, like they've either been there but not quite there, and they're always close but not quite and over the top. And then Joe Rucco, like me and him used to go head to head like every weekend and every Spartan in the Northeast. And we'd like get our top 10 finishes and we always finish pretty close. And like seeing him as like kind of a peer and then him smash and win, it's like if he put so much devotion into World Toughest this year, and for him to hit a podium, I was like, wow, that puts a lot of belief in me that I can do what I'm trying to do. And I put the time in, and that's how my bike got so good is like the last few years, I'm just watching people like Ryan Corning. I was like, oh, he's the best at the bike. And I reach out to him like, dude, I know you're not very outspoken, but you're putting up great stuff, and message him questions and responds very genuinely right away. And I'm like, how did you get your bike under a minute? This is way far back.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. I did it. And like that specifically, like him not telling me how to pedal or whatever, but the fact that he like broke that Roger Bannister mark at 60 seconds. And then I'm like, I got to 60, but he's at 50 and then he's at 40. I'm like, and then getting better and better. And same thing with Kent. Like he was doing 40 in a fit before anybody thought it was cool. And like, unfortunately, Ryan Corning was injured most of the year and rehabbing. So he wasn't in his full strength this weekend. And I'm just glad he was able to toe the starting line. He got a qualification time in and he got to compete. And he got a second place in the co-ed relay with Michaela Short. So that was fun. I got to go head to head with him twice. But like that, the community piece, like you work out in the gym by yourself all the time. Like you want to get better and better, but you need perspective, and what he was able to accomplish provided me belief that I could do it. And then like Kent was an 11:10 at Worlds last year, and I did 11:11 like a month later. And I'm like, I'm right there. Not because I put up my best time that I thought I could believe, but I'm like, if Kent can do 11:10, like I wonder how close I could get. And then I was 1 second short. And then throughout the season, like he put 11:05, and then like a month before the season ended, Rylan puts up a 10:33, and my mind blows. I'm like, how did you do that? Yeah. And then a week ago before Worlds, I went out to Warwick, Rhode Island to It Starts Here Fitness and ran a Deka Strong. And I ran a 10:49. And that my 11:11 to 10:49, like quantum leap for me. I'm like, all right, cool. This is everything I needed confidence wise. And it's crazy because everything I needed lining up to get me in the right headspace. My fitness has been good all the time, but like obviously I was trying to peak that. But the headspace piece, getting my ducks in a row with nutrition, I hired Corinna Coffin. I'm like, I'm no stone unturned. You're the best. I know stuff, but I have so many stuffs to worry about. So if you could take that off my plate, pun intended, tell me what to eat. So we had like, I was eating things, and then she told me what to eat more, time frame, how to adjust. We had a game plan for Fenway because Fenway was a couple weeks out. And I'm like, all right, I got to do, or maybe it's a month, whatever it was out. I was like, I'm racing back to back both days, elite age group Saturday, come back Sunday, elite age group, because that's 4 races in 2 days. And I can sim my food and the nutrition between, nutrition after. And then we figured out what worked there and then what didn't. And then the next weekend I did some sims at the gym. Same thing. Let's practice the food. And then the last week before the race, same thing. Friday night, I simmed a strong relay alone in the gym. with what I expected. My partner, Lauren Griffiths, the freaking animal from Washington. I simmed her time. I rested when she was working. And then I did the same Saturday and Sunday. And then, well, Sunday I actually went to It Starts Here to just do the strong. So I didn't do it alone. But having all those pieces like line up, I'm like, all right, all I need to do is not worry about anybody else on the course. If I do my thing, and you can see if you watch the video of me walking up to the bike, everybody talking to everyone after is like, some people watched it live, some people watched it after knowing the result, and they're just like, I'm like screaming, like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you wasting? Get on the damn bike. And I'm just like casually coming up, setting my seat, adjusting, like dusting it off. And then I get on the bike, and I only could do that. I had the confidence to do that, knowing what I was going to be able to do. I saved enough in the front end, pace, then race. I don't know if you watch any of my freaking How to Be Better at Deka Strong videos. That's like, I've been preaching that for 2 years. And I paced more in the beginning of this race than ever before. And then I was able to race the end, and I came off the bike. The energy of the eruption of the freaking crowd, I was like, this is it. I hopped up they all want me to win. I'm in first. I just got to do my thing. I don't have to worry. Like, I got more energy now than anyone else. And all I need to do is get to the burpees and get a 3-rep lead, and I'll have a chance to win. And I got to the burpees at a 5-rep lead, and I'm like, well, I can't stop. Just got to go. Props to Rylan. I think he was the most excited for me to win of anyone I was racing against. Kent was a little sick. So I mean, you always wish that your competitors are 100%, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I talked to Dustin Livingood for an hour on Tuesday, and I was like, dude, this must be how you felt when you won OCRWC. And he's like, yeah, I felt amazing until the week after. I started like, well, it was only age group, and it was COVID year, so no one else, like a lot of people weren't there, and he started selling himself down. He's like, don't fucking do that. You can only race who's there. Yeah, it could have been different, but it also could have been anybody else, and maybe you didn't win that year. So that was like huge for me. And just talking to so many other people in the community, Kevin Donahue, he's obviously a very accomplished OCR athlete, so he's done quite a bit. So
rewinding a little bit. I know. I'm like caught up in the two, but just for some table setting for those that are a little less familiar about Deka, let's start with like, how many events did you qualify for, and just explain how that qualification kind of works and for Deka.
All right, I'll slow down my speech cadence. All right, so Deka is a competition with 10 exercise stations. The reverse lunges with weight, rower, box step overs, weighted sit-ups, skier, farmer carry, assault bike, dead ball over the shoulders, the tank push and pull, and weighted burpees. Those are the stations. The difference is, you've heard Deka Fit, Deka Mile, Deka Strong. Deka Fit, each of those exercise stations is preceded by a 500-meter run. So they say, go, you run 500 meters. Then you do the station, you run 500 meters. It always finishes with the 20th burpee. The Deka Mile is the same thing, except prior to the lunges is 160 meters or 1/10 of a mile, aka the Deka Mile. And then the strong has no running; it's just station. So last year, they at the beginning of 2023, they introduced Deka teams, where you get a teammate and you can divvy up the strong, mile, or fit in any way you want, and that's another category you can compete at Worlds. Then the qualification season for Deka started in the end of September of the previous year. So 2022, September, say 28th. I forget the date it ended, but it was like later in the month. That was the last day you could qualify for Deka World Championships 2022. And anything you did at a gym affiliate, any time you ran, qualified, put you on the leaderboard for the 2023 season. And then qualification was open until September, whatever it was this year, 24th, 2023. And that closed the 2023 qualifying season. And then from that point, top 20 overall in each age group, in each race discipline, got an email saying, hey, you qualified for elite. And then they'd have to register for the race. And then after a couple of weeks, they're like, okay, anybody, like if there's a couple slots open, because say someone can't race, they're injured, or they live in another country, they want to travel. So then they get rolled down. So 20th place through 20 or to like 39th place or whatever it is. The next 20 people get an email all at the same time. So if Mike's 39 and I'm 21st, we get the email at the same time. And if Mike's faster to register, Mike's in the elite wave. Just because they want to do it shorter, but technically it just takes too long.
Right.
So then after elites fields are set, and this is both for the mile, the fit, and the strong, after all those elite fields are set, and you qualify for each event. So like I qualified elite for strong, not for fit. So you can compete in what you're good at and then whatever. Then the next period of time, top 20 in each age group gets that roll down. All the elites that are in the elite wave get deleted out. So it's the next 20 people that are not scheduled elite or not registered elite rather, get the age group qualification email. And then you had a certain amount of time to register. And then when that's not full, they roll down to 21 to 40. And then if that still doesn't fill it, 41 to 60 or whatever it is, because some of the age groups, like the teenage girls, like finding 20 teenage girls that have the family that wants to fly them to Texas to race,
right?
And you don't fill that age group. Or maybe there's not 20, 70 plus year old women. Although there's some badasses, the depth of field is not as crazy. But in other age groups that are very full, or like the 30 to 50 age groups for both genders. So there's like, it's hard to get in there because a lot of people are vying for those qualification spots. So it fills up much quicker. So that's how you qualify. And then at Worlds, they ran, each day had a different discipline. So Friday was the fit day. So they ran all the girls from the 14 to 18 age group first, and then in two waves, because they broke it up into waves. They did two, then the next age group, whatever. When they finished the 70 plus women, they sent off the Go Ruck women. So this year they had Go Ruck Fit. They only took 10 athletes of each gender for the Go Ruck Fit. And then they raced same Deka Fit, but they have a 30-pound for men and 20-pound ruck backpack for women. They do the regular full everything. So shout out to Jarrett Newby from New Insanity and Lori Winkleman for winning those divisions. And then after that was the elite women for the fit. So they sent off their two waves to cover their 20 athletes. Once that race was done, everyone was off. This is what was all televised. So if you want to see these races, they're on YouTube. You can find them pretty easily. Then the men went. And then after the men's elite went, then they started the same age group, or they started the men ruck, Go Ruck after that. And then they started the 14 to 18-year-old boys, and then all the way up to 70-plus-year-old men. And then after that, they did teams. So there's 3 teams categories, and this is for all the races. There was co-ed, so you got a male and a female on the team. And then once they sent off those, then they moved on to the males, so 2 men. And then once they finished those, it was both females, so then 2 females. And that was the structure each day. They didn't have Go Ruck for mile or strong in 2023. They will in 2024.
Awesome.
But that was the structure of the day. So it was great because if you're a spectator, like my first race wasn't until 5 p.m. on Friday, but I was there at 8 a.m. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have any 14-year-old girls, but I got some 18 to 24s, and I got some athletes from our gym in the other age group, so I wanted to cheer for them. And then there was always something to watch. There was no break in action ever. Like even when they changed genders or anything, they were always like switching out like a well-oiled machine. And the Deka HQ squad, which is like 7 people plus a few like Spartan staff members, they just had everything running very smoothly to go. I don't think any of the waves started late. Maybe a couple minutes in elite, just because they were like, we just want to give the older ladies a second to get off the course, and they started a couple minutes late. But the build up, the coverage from OCR Report and all the social media coverage. I mean, Matt B. Davis was there, and I mean Dave Claxton was there, doing a lot of different jobs. But it was
it's impressive because, as you said, like there's and I think you worded that really well. That there's a lot going on, and Yancey was a little vocal too about like, hey, if you're running multiple like team events, it might be kind of hard to like get to all the start lines. I know it really affected you most on the strong, I believe. How was it getting to your next race again and again?
Well, the fit, I talked to Yancey and Nelson when qualifications went out, because I was like, I want to race with everyone I qualified for. And before you asked me how many events I qualified for all 9. I mean, I guess I could have qualified for Go Ruck, but I never did one of those. So out of the 9 non-Go Ruck events, I qualified for all of them. My age group for fit individual, which last year I chose to run and didn't give much of an effort because I knew like that was the race I couldn't win money in, and didn't do that well. And Tara Jackson scorned me for 12 months about how dumb I was to run that race with what else I could do. So this year I I did not run the age group fit, and then I qualified with a male for the fit relay, but he wasn't planning on going, so I nixed that one. And then I had qualified with 3 different women for the co-ed relay. So I ran 3 co-ed relays, and I had 3 different partners. So one of them, she only qualified in that, so I figured she probably wasn't going to travel. I did win the championship with her last year, Laura Cummings,
Right.
but she was about to get married. She was in the academy for her new job, and she didn't qualify for anything else because she didn't try. So I was like, do you really want to fly to Texas? If not, no problem. I got 2 other options. And she's like, no. And I'm like, you're awesome. You're such a great sport. Like, I didn't want to like guilt trip you into having to come. And so I qualified also with Karen Guidry, who ended up running women's doubles with Amber. They won the Orlando race. So I was glad that she got a chance to race. And on the Orlando race, I didn't have a partner. I was hoping to race with Meg Jacoby, but she like fell off the box, hurt her hip, and then she went to Disney, which no ill will against her because she didn't even come to this race anyway. But I found a diamond in the rough with Lauren Griffiths, who I didn't know at the time, but I found her and I was like, hey, I asked her husband while she was skiing in the women's elite race if she wanted to do doubles. He's like, yeah, I think she'd be down. So she comes up to introduce herself after she finished racing, got 5th to Tara, Meg, Vivian, and Camilla in Florida. So pretty stacked group of women that beat her. And since she came up to me and she's like, hey, so you want to run doubles? I was like, yeah, I mean, if you're down, we're going to win. But I just need to know if you're committed. I got the game plan. I pretty much just need you to run. And she's like, that sounds great. I'm like, perfect. So we gelled so well together, knowing each other for 5 minutes. And then she lives in Washington State. So we've been communicating a bit through text. But she smashed like the last 2 high rockses at Chicago. She qualified for Elite 15 running pro. And then she won Chicago. She won Dallas. And she trains with Lauren Weeks and Anthony with the hybrid engine. And I was like, wow, I don't know where this girl came from, but she's freaking awesome. So I was super excited Friday night to compete with her. We were the top seed, and we were able to win. And then the Saturday I ran the elite male individual, and I didn't place too well. I went out and ran my race, and it wasn't my day, and I was fine with that because I was like, this is my least important. I made a list of goals, and a male elite mile was like, okay, I'll be happy if I get top 5. If not, I'm not hurt. And so I finished that. Then I ran with Carla, or Kala, as the Bostonians say, because that's where she's from, Rotondi. She came to one of our gym events, and I was like, hey, you want to run doubles? We'll break the world record.
Is
we
she
did.
The one,
and then
is she the one that you almost murdered by trampling?
She's the one that got thrown in a bush during our record-breaking race.
I watched that live, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, so she was resilient enough to show up again. We checked for bushes before this race in Dallas, but they only have cactus. But our record got beaten by Tara later that day, and then Alex Walker and Brandon Bonine beat our record again later. I don't know when, at the end of the season or whatever. So we were like the 3 seed or something. So we raced well together. I think I knew we needed to get out ahead because there was 20 people in the starting corral, and the lane was about as wide as my arm span. So I worked my butt off and ran as hard as I could to get to the lunges first. And then we were sitting in 3rd or 4th for a bit, which I wasn't worried about because we're a back half team. I'm a back half athlete. And we were able to take the lead at the bike and then finish strong and win. We broke their world record, which was Alex and Brandon's time, by a second. So that was exciting. However, to your point about being tired, I was exhausted. I worked so hard in that race, and I felt like I worked really hard in that race. I crawled all the way back to the starting line, and they were like, hey, we're just going to start wave 2 or wave 1. You can go out in wave 2, even though I was supposed to be in wave 1. And I was like, all right, cool. I got 5 minutes. And I sit down like, all right, you guys ready to take the starting line? And I'm like, no. Well, I had a really good partner in Zach Tate, and he took it out hot. He won the first run, got to our lunch station, I came strolling in later, did my lunges. I was dead. Then I rowed. It took me so much effort to row slower than I rowed all weekend just to like get us off there. And we ended up winning our wave. But props to Grayson Kilgore, who also ran the co-ed race with me. He podiumed with Katie Duke in the first race when I ran with Carla. I think he got second in that with Carla or with his partner, Katie. He made it back to the starting line, started on time. He ran with Rylan and then took third in that race. So when I was like feeling bad for myself, I get to the start. I'm like, Grayson's already in line to race again. Oh my God. So he went out and did his thing. I suffered tremendously. Zach did half of my work plus all of his work. We finished sixth overall. And looking at like Magida and Eric, they broke the record for that. And I wonder what would have been if I was fresh. But props to them. They raced who they had to race and they did their thing and they beat the best time ever. So love to go head to head with them in the future, but so be it for now. And that was Friday night. I felt like I got hit by a bus all night long. Like I was dead in that race and all night I was sore. The guy, Andrew from Lumaflex, which is these like red light things that you light it up and then you put it on your body and it's supposed to like help you recover. He was swinging by our table, the underdog table at the end of the night. And he's like, hey, you want to take one of these home? And I was like, yes, please. I'm destroyed. I got Normatec boots at home, but our whole house was using those, but I was hitting the Lumaflex everywhere. I had a little tweak in my like Achilles, which apparently was like the theme of the weekend. My ankle wasn't feeling great, but I got up in the morning on Sunday after a terrible night of sleep, put that on again and got up and I was feeling a little groggy, but I'm like, Sunday, this is our day. This is the day to perform. And Mike, I'm sure you've raced back-to-back Spartan races and back-to-back days.
Yep.
That start line feel where you're dragging yourself to the start. You didn't even want to warm up. You barely did anything. All right, ready, set, aru, go. That's exactly how I felt. And
really?
I guess I had some solace because I'm like, I've done this before. I've run the ultra on Saturday and then crawled to the starting line and performed decently well on Sunday in a sprint or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I can deal with this, and got my wheels on, my bearings straight for the individual race. And it's crazy how different I felt after I won the individual strong. I had like 3 hours until I raced with Amber in the co-ed strong, and I didn't sit down. I was high-fiving all the vendors. Like I was running around like a madman cheering for whoever was racing. And the Underdog Energy guys were like, I've known them since they became partners because our brands have the same name but different logos. And they're like, oh man, I'm so proud of you. Whatever, here, you want an energy drink? And I was like, yes. I'm like already 12 out of 10 out of energy. I slammed one of their energy drinks and I'm just bouncing off the walls. I didn't take any more caffeine for my next two races. I didn't take caffeine the rest of the day. I just chugged Powerless because I kept walking by and they were cold. And I went to the starting line with Amber. We raced our hearts out. We were the top seed, so we were supposed to win, and we did. But the skier broke. Amber, I skied, then she skied, and I don't know if it was. I think she broke it, not me. But the way she was skiing, I think, was creating some slack in the line, and I think it jumped the pulley. Like you probably experienced this in Spartan with the Hercoist. If the pulley gets messed up, it doesn't matter how heavy the bag is; it's not going to roll. So I'm like feeling it's not even and not even and not even and not even. And all of a sudden the left side won't pull anymore. So I like I have 100 meters to ski left and we're in a race. Like I don't have a chance to like try to sit and finagle. So I just grab one with both hands and I'm just pulling one handle and we ended up getting off the ski and like, all right, we're done with that. And we were able to win that. But as soon as I finished, I'm like, all right, I got to go to the starting line and totally different mentality and energy crossing the finish line and then going back to the starting line with AJ. Knowing that we were severe underdogs again, because the team that was the top seed there had like a 40-second faster qualifying time than we did, and we were a 3 seed. So I'm like, okay, well, this is it. This is all we can do. This is the last race of the weekend. Time to leave it all out there. And props to AJ because he did way more than I needed him to do. And we ended up. That was probably my closest win of the weekend. It was like 4 seconds, but. I mean, AJ was right on point with everything I needed him to do. I just had to do my job, and we communicated well. We tagged in and out when we needed to, and we were able to cross that finish line. as my fifth win of the weekend. And I mean, he had a great weekend too. He podiumed first or second in all three of his other races. So he ended up walking away with 2 golds and 2 silvers. And he actually tore his meniscus 2 weeks ago at High Rocks in Chicago. Wow. So he went from, I'm super excited to race and win, to, oh shit, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to take the starting line, to massively like rehabbing. I don't think I've ever seen anyone spend that much effort rehabbing like a madman like he did. And he managed to take the starting line and didn't have any knee issues the weekend. And he's got an MRI on Monday. So he's on his road to recovery now. He's got to go meet with some doctors and figure out how they're going to fix it. But overall, like, super proud of him. All my teammates, I mean, I couldn't have done it without any of them. And they all brought different strengths, which is really cool because I only bring one strength.
So that's something that I want to mention. And you don't have to break it down for each individual race too, but like the amount of strategy that goes into it too, because it is like a relay system in terms of like switching off and all of that too. So how did your plan change from race to race? Like what, obviously like you are the bike guy, but like what else goes into planning these team races?
So different disciplines change things up. So like with Lauren Griffith on Friday, she's doing all the running and then it's a 500-meter run. So I get a lot of rest. So I really don't need that much rest. I don't need her to do much because I'm laying on the floor. I don't know if you watch the live stream, you're like, what happened to Bubbles? I'm literally strategically starfish stretch between stations. And everyone at first was like worried if I was okay. And I'm like, no, I'm just getting my heart rate as low as I can so I can jack it up again in about a minute. So that felt amazing. On Saturday with Carla and Zach, I wanted to maximize our speed, but I didn't have as much rest. So I needed to figure out how I can save some of my intensity because station 7 is the key. So I had Carla do some sit-ups and I had Zach do the box. But it turned out Zach ended up doing the box and half the farmer carries and more than half the dead ball. And he just did everything because I was so exhausted. But on Sunday, there's no running. So my partners, I'm like, how can I utilize their agility? And if you notice, my partners are all pretty small because I needed them to be fast. I can do lunges as fast as most people, but in the box, I'm very good at everything. Obviously, I'm well-rounded, but there's people that are better than me in certain stations. And if I spend my energy doing a box step over and a lunge, my row's not going to be as good. And same with, I can run with the farmer carry, like 120 pounds is like nothing, but then my bike's compromised because my heart rate's so high. So plugging them into areas of their strength allows them to excel. And then it also gives me a chance to recover. If I was racing with myself, I would probably still break it up the same way. And if I had someone who's better than me on the ergs, I would just let them do the ergs and I could do the skill stuff. But putting people in positions of their strengths allowed me to get the most juice out of the squeeze for each athlete, each partner. So,
right.
And that paid big dividends across the board.
And just clarifying too, the first run and the last run are the only things that have to be done together, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So I trained my runs a lot leading into this, knowing that last time Lauren and I raced, my runs held us back. I mean, obviously, I'm not I'm a good runner, but I'm not the running level of Rylan.
Right. And actually, speaking of Rylan real quick too, Dave from OFX again was talking about how like, you know, you were like the bracket buster in terms of like win loss for him. So I think it was really cool that he was so supportive of your win, beating him in the Deka Strong. I didn't get to watch it yet, but Caitlin watched it and she was excited. She very much wants to do Deka now, which we had planned to do one this year. This year was kind of crazy. Next year we're 100% doing it. But it's just the fact that like you just kind of came not out of nowhere, like you had a strategy, but the way that you hammered those last 3 stations was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I think that was an overnight success, 10 years in the making.
Yeah, right. And that's another thing too, because like in OCR, your name is synonymous with clown or bubbles, like not in an offensive way, but like it's who you are. You're a beloved member of the community, and then likewise in hybrid racing. But like your name in hybrid racing is like the assault bike, and how does it feel to like not only like crush that and do what a lot of people can't do fresh, but to see other athletes like kind of take on almost like a mini internet challenge, like how fast can I do this?
Yeah, I think every time I run a fit or like there's some big, like the fits are the most obvious because OCR report covers it, and then a lot of people reshare stuff. So that's when it always like gets a lot of coverage. But I love motivating people. I love like all the tags and people are trying to like better themselves and all that kind of thing. But I think I don't want to train on the assault bike. I'll do stuff, but I don't love it. I hate it as much as everybody else. I just figured out how to get off of it fast. And I also figured out how to do it in a way where I can operate my body after the fact, which people are like, oh my God, when I get off the bike, I'm so tired. I'm like, well, yeah, it took you a minute and a half. I'd be tired if I was on that thing for a minute and a half. I'm trying to get off before my body realizes like I'm tired.
Yeah. So at the risk of, sharing your secret, so I will beat you at a Deka strong, which is a totally not sarcastic thing that could happen. Like, what are the steps that you took to become such a monster at that particular station?
All right. So I'll give you a couple secrets. One, fix your seat, because most people just get on it however it is. But in training, spend some time figuring out where your optimal seat position is, because that's going to make a huge difference. If you've ever taken a spin class, which usually the instructor comes around and like sizes your bike for you, and it feels awkward at first because it's a skinny little seat and you're like, wow, this doesn't feel right. But they're actually doing you a huge service because you're going to be able to activate more musculature. Your knees won't hurt. Like if you've ridden a bike, whatever it is, if it's too short, you take a beating on your knees and it's unnecessary. So I'm not going to tell you how to set your bike. You can Google like optimal position, but if your seat's too low, you're using too much quads and you're going to build lactate way too fast and your legs blow up. If it's too tall, naturally you can't reach a pedal, so that's useless. But forward and back, everyone also overlooks that. And if you're too close, if you're tall, your knees are going to hit the handlebars. And if you're too far back, you're extended, your arm's fully extended, and you still have to go farther. So you're losing all your power. I'm not a boxer, but I know forward and back, if you hit a certain distance away from your body, the snap of everything like is way more intense than if you like fully finish reaching and then extend to like make contact. Or if someone's super close, if you think bench press, like you see people short their reps, they're not going all the way down and they're just doing these little like lockout things. Like that all plays a role, like using push and pull and your legs. You can't pick your foot up because you're not clipped in. So you lose that on what you get with a spin bike. But the seat position is huge. And when you watch the live, or you watch me do the bike in the men's elite race, you will get so frustrated that I'm not jumping on the bike and smashing. But that is why I bring this up, because that's how important it was. And then 2 is like understand what you're trying to accomplish. And the power that you put out on the bike increases your watts or your RPMs exponentially. So 1% improvement in power is going to get you off, say 5% faster, where the row and the ski is very linear. 1% improvement in power, and you're getting off 1% faster. So that is a machine where it pays to smash, but we can't, like if you understand energy systems, you have 20 seconds of like high intensity burst. After that, you blow up. So now that I'm in that range of under 20 seconds, I know like I'm not going to be taking on lactate. I just burst and then I'm out of there. I get to go on to the next station. And quick plug to Stride Tech. I had the pamphlet, but I took it away. But anyways, so in Orlando, they were there as a vendor, and I wore their shorts, and their shorts have a bunch of like electrodes in them. And then it was connected to this guy's phone on his app, on his phone. And I ran the Deka Fit relay. And then after the fact, he showed me all this data, and he's like, "Hey, your muscular performance is exceeding your fatigue level." And this is like on the lunges. I'm like, okay, great. I did good on the lunges. Bravo. But where it got interesting, my running performance was lower and my fatigue was higher in different parts, especially at the end of the race. And then we worked backwards. My performance was high and the fatigue was about even on the bike, but on the tank, it started to go down. So performance was dropping, fatigue was gaining. So I knew after the bike, I'm going to kind of wither away. But it was and it had to break down quads to hamstrings to glutes. Wow. And I'm very quad dominant on the bike and quad dominant on the tank. Even if you're not pushing quad dominant, the pull is 100% quads. and then burpees and the running and all that stuff. So my very quad heavy in the front of the race, actually. So knowing all that in mid-September when I did that, I trained so much quad muscular endurance leading into world championships, because I'm like, well, if my quads don't get tired, I can do what I need to do on the lunges and the rower and the box and then the farmers. And then on the bike, I can smash. And then if I still have the endurance, it's hamstrings on the dead ball. So they get a little rest there. My quads will be kind of recovered much better for the tank. And then burpees is just all heart. So utilizing all the resources that I had taught me a lot of stuff, and I was able to bring that to my clients, like the other underdog athletes. I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, we're gonna start training a huge block of quad endurance. And they're like, okay, sure, whatever you say, coach. But if you notice, like, not everybody can smash the bike in the time I can. But I mean, the 30 to 34 podium on Sunday, we had the first place guy who won all the races, Chaz Hatton. And second place guy was Mike Racine, who first world championship podium of his life. Like, no one even knows who he is in our gym because he's a quiet guy, works really hard. But he did what I did on the bike. He sat and then he kicked. He smashed the bike in like 30 seconds. And he was in first place ahead of Chaz. Chaz just ran a more balanced race and was able to nip him at the end. But to have two guys like battling it out on our team for the top podium position, not like, oh, I hope we get fourth or third. These guys like smashed the field, and that was like so exciting to see. And so many other athletes that we have like just executing was amazing. But another great moment.
That was something that you, so I have some stats here that you rightfully bragged about on a post saying 25 podiums, 14 world champions, and 50 top 10 finishes, which is very impressive coming from like one gym or one community. Like that's, how does that make you feel as more than just a business owner, but a community builder?
I mean, I have such a sense of pride in those numbers. And obviously I'm a lead by example kind of leader. So even if I didn't podium or win 5 times, like if I was flirting with third place in like a couple races and our team did that, I would still be just as ecstatic, because these guys bought into what I was teaching them. They bought into me. They bought into the vision of our team, and the support amongst all of them. Like, I couldn't be at everyone's side for 3 straight days for every single age group, for every single race, and get myself ready to race and recover and fuel and this and that. Like, our team was like 3 deep at every single like fence. Like, oh, hey, who's next? Okay, cool. We got to get over there. We got another guy going. We had 2, 3, 4, 5 athletes at like everyone's side. And I was there as much as I could be, but Jess was there every time. And then the rest of the team was like, no one ever hung out at our table. Like, 2 people would check in at our table to grab a snack and go back to the sidelines to cheer for the next person, guy, girl, whatever. But I was so proud of how everyone, they weren't just there as cheerleaders. They were able to do what they needed to do to perform and then be a cheerleader. And like, we got a house together, and it was just like, it was crazy. Like, oh my God, I saw what you did, and I got this and you got that. And we're all like comparing splits on the after the fit day, because we all had numbers. And it was just the teamwork and camaraderie and just the belief we built in each other. That's just a huge sense of pride. And Mike, I know you don't have kids yet. I don't have kids, but I imagine this is what it's like to be a proud father.
That's awesome. And then a special spotlight to your members who won a gold triple crown as well as a silver triple crown. Can you briefly explain like what those are?
Yeah, so they deemed this triple crown thing. Bronze triple crown was you qualified in all 3 events. So we didn't even highlight those because we had so many people that did it. But the silver triple crown was you podiumed in all 3 of your distances. So strong, mile, fit. And so AJ was that. He got second in the fit and the strong and first in the mile. And then Chaz Hatton won across the board. He won strong over Mike. He won the mile over someone that was super fast. He either Friday in the fit or the mile, I can't remember which one. He won by 1/10 of a second. Like, if you look at the results, it's whatever his time was, and then 0.1 slower was the second place guy. So like, the fact that he nipped that one, like, he just got there at the right time, just in the nick of time. But so and then I got the triple crown of the co-ed relay. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I won gold in all the distances for co-ed. And I wish Magida and Eric showed up for the strong male relay, because they won males Friday and Saturday. But I know Dave wasn't feeling physically great after his mile performance or mile relay performance that they won. So his back's been bothering for quite a while.
Yeah.
So they decided not to race the strong relay, but so that allowed me and AJ to pick that up without having to face the 2-time champions. But so that was really cool. And Rylan, I was the great guy that he is. Like, we were kind of poking fun at each other because we were there for podiums on Saturday night for our relays. And I'm like, Rylan, you got a good weekend going. You got 3 races, 3 podiums, 2 wins in individuals. And tomorrow, that gold, I think I'm going to get a t-shirt made tonight that says Triple Crown Defender, because I'm your last line of defense. And he was a good sport about it. And he actually brought that up after we won, we hugged it out. And he's like, dude, you're going to have to get a bunch of those Triple Crown Defender shirts made now. But he, good dude though. Like, I feel like me and him, neither of us like are shit talkers. So like some friendly banter in a healthy way was fun and great. And it was no shortage of great things to say about Rylan. He had an amazing weekend.
Yeah, big fan of him. He just seems to be like a genuinely good person. Like whenever I see him at an event, like I look forward to talking to a lot of people, but he's someone that I'm like, oh, I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Going to the events themselves in terms of how they were structured in terms of layout. So that's something that can be very make or break when you go to different gyms. How do you think that they did with, how they had the event set up for the 3 days?
Overall, give them like a 9 out of 10. And
okay.
The only one complaint, and I guess it didn't really hinder me that much, but I could see why a lot of people. So the fit was very standard. They've done a bunch of them. This was a lot more narrow, so there was 2 longer straightaways and 2 shorter ones, which I only had to run a couple times, so I didn't have any issue with that. The floor is a little slick. It's like it looks like they used to have tennis courts painted there, and then it's kind of like worn away because there's like some of that green residue with the lines. But otherwise fit, great. Mile, I don't like the cones where you go out and stop and turn, and I like the 90-degree cone. So at our events here at Underdog, we make a loop. So that way you're not cutting corners. You're running around a big round loop, and that brings you into the stations. So that's how we do it here. They didn't have that luxury, but they did what they did last year at Worlds, and anyone that raced mile last year knew what to expect. So my only complaint about that is the width of the building didn't really allow them to get any wider on the running lanes, because it was kind of narrow already, and then they cut it in half. So you ran down the right side and you went around the shipping container or box or something, and then you came back and then you went in. But as people were peeling out of the stations on the slightly slippery concrete, they were like rounding the corners and like running into the outside barriers and like tripping on that. So that was the only complaint I had about that. Because I'm not fast enough to have that problem, but like the Glenn races and Dave Magida and like the super fast like acceleration runners, definitely you were noticeably peeling out and running into those things. But the strong last year, personally, and a lot of the strong athletes last year had an uproar because we went from being told we're going to have lanes to the Deka mile, which is stretched out 100 meters. So you finish a station, you went forward until you had to go all the way to the right of all the stations to get in for like a farmer, and then the same with the tank. So people like Ryan Corning, who goes out slow like me, he got to his box, but someone else already took his box because they're trying to move to the right to get closer and shortest distance. And he got bumped all the way to the left side away from everybody. So he's playing find a box.
Right.
So huge improvement. They fixed that from last year. We had our 12 lanes. You could see everything. Spectators could look across, and it was great. The thing that got me last year was my rowing straps were tightened down. And then, not that everybody had the opportunity to go fix their straps, but I think the volunteers did a much better job of making sure equipment was reset. And another thing that they did last year was let the elites set our bike heights, which it didn't allow for the age groupers. But what they did on Saturday for the mile was reset all the bikes to 0 and all the way forward, which no one except maybe like a 8-year-old kid could ride the bike at that height.
I was going to say Anthony McChesney, but
yeah, no, I think she at least pushes the seat back. But so we all had to adjust our seat heights, and that ended up, I mean, that was annoying that we had to change our seat heights, but it was very fair, and that's what I appreciated. And actually, I don't know if anybody else did this, but I noticed that immediately because I've been visualizing like, how am I going to do this race exactly? How am I going to go into the rower and not have the same problem I had last year? How do I, if something happens bad, how do I stay content or like composed? Because that's what cost me last year. It wasn't someone stealing my box like it was for Corning. It was, I couldn't get my feet in the rower, and then I couldn't get my feet out of the rower. And then when I finally did, I played, let me catch up to these guys that are rowing really fast by rowing even faster. And then I used too much energy early and I didn't have what I needed later. But the course setup was great. I practiced setting my seat height more than I practiced anything in the warm-up area. Run up, set it forward and backwards and up and down. All right, walk away. All right, run up, set it forward and backwards. So when I was able to do that, I knew I had to take that extra second, but I also could stay composed, keep my heart rate down. Like biathlon, like I've never done that, but you go from cross country skiing with a max heart rate and you're like, all right, woosah, we got to shoot it gone.
Yeah. I think I remember talking to Tara Jackson about that last year because I had her on to talk about Deka World Championships last year. So I'm glad that they fixed that with the Deka Strong too, because that is kind of annoying to not have a lane reserved for you. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the volunteers and stuff. I had heard a lot of good stories. I didn't really hear many bad stories. Did you? Overall, they were well trained and they did their job well.
The goal of the volunteers was they're athletes, so they know the rules.
Right.
I don't think that, I mean, last year there was a big issue with that because they just brought a bus of people that didn't really speak English in, and they were the judges. So they didn't know the rules. They didn't count out loud. They didn't speak English. So you couldn't even argue with them because you weren't sure what they were saying and whatever. That was a big mess last year. Not so much with the elites because they kind of got the athletes to judge the elites, but the age groupers, I'm like, I got an age grouper trying to win a world championship here, and I don't know what rep they're on, and I'm asking, and I'm not getting an answer. So this year, that was much better. I think a huge opportunity they have, though, is the no repping. It's very much the culture of Deka to not no rep people. It's to warn them and tell them how to fix it. Okay. But that next step is going to be okay, if you're a judge, if you correct them once, if they go back to it, now you have to no rep them. There has to be a black and white line because there's too much gray area. And I know there's definitely athletes that did get no reps, which becomes frustrating for them. Oh, well, I got no rep 4 times, but no one else did. So I lost my wave because I'm sitting over here doing 5 extra reps. And I mean, there's certain personalities that have no problem that are nope, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. And then Yancey's trying to balance everything. So he's okay, elites, do not make this look bad. Do what we need you to do because the age groupers are going to do exactly what you do. If you have shitty reps, they're going to do that. And their judge might not be as strong as the ones that made it onto the elite squad. So they're going to get away with it. And then that changes up a bunch of things. So I don't know what the answer is next year. I know Jess was the head judge in 2022, but this year, because I was racing in a lot of stuff, I don't know if she was asked not to judge or if she didn't want to judge. Just the last thing that you want is, I beat Ryland by a second. She no reps him and that's controversy, right? For anybody, so she kind of kept her nose out of the ring there. But I didn't think there was time. Like I said, we stayed on schedule, so they must have had enough judges to get through everything and whatnot. But as we progress as a sport, we need to not. I'm not saying we need to no rep everybody, but we got to. Here's the line, our threshold for no repping needs to be massively improved because that is going to make a huge difference. And Yancey talks about it all the time. He's every Monday I get a bunch of DMs with videos of people doing shitty reps at local gyms. And I'm like, oh my God, this looks bad for the athlete, the gym owner, Deka, everybody. And they've established that they're never going to pull someone's time based on shitty reps on a video. I have seen a few people put up really good times in the Deka Strong or mile or whatever at a gym and find out later that the course wasn't to standard. And those athletes they've asked to have their times removed. I know Chaz Hatton was one. Dan Hickman was another one. They ran a Deka mile and found out later that it wasn't the mile. It was not the right distance. So they put up amazing time and then they were good sportsmen enough to say, okay, hey, I know that's not legit. Let's take that down. But from Deka, they're not doing that. So we got to be better affiliates and no rep people at our local gyms, and which there's a handful of good local gyms that did most of the judging at Worlds that obviously they could get better, but they did an amazing job overall. but there's a lot of gyms that still don't even know the rules. Like, I'll go compete, or my athletes are like, hey, I was at this gym and they set it up in a legal way. And I'm like, send me a video. Hopefully I can get in touch with the owner before they run everybody through and no one's times are going to count, because they have had that happen before. Like, oh yeah, we're just doing one down and back for the farmers. And like, no, that's not allowed. So
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, as an athlete, your job is to ride the line, not cheat, but do it in the most economically friendly, fastest, because you are racing. So if they end up cheating, you're right. It's entirely on the judge. There's race brain. There's all these other variables, but as a judge, like, you need to call people out. And sometimes we see it with Spartan all the time. Like, people are intimidated. Like, oh, I'm not going to say, like, Ryan Atkins, you didn't ring the bell, but having athletes judge other athletes, I think they're more likely to speak up. But yeah, we need to create more of a culture where, like, put your foot down.
I think I have an interesting perspective as a top tier elite Deka strong athlete. I can say that now because I've established myself. But also as a professional referee, I referee 2 NCAA sports, and the last thing I want to do is decide the outcome of a game. But if I've warned the same person 3 times for being an idiot, I'm like, I'm not going to keep letting you get away with it. And now I tried to talk you off the ledge. It wasn't that big a deal last time. Well, now you put me in a position where I'm going to get totally effed because the other coach knows what happened. TV and definitely live video, everything's on TV, like, not necessarily ESPN, but they're all recorded. I can go pull up a game from any location of any college sport and watch the freaking live stream that's all there. And I'm going to get, like, destroyed on my reviews or whatever because I didn't uphold the rules on this. And so the athletes, you talked about towing the line. Obviously that's the name of the game. You're not, oh, well, if this guy's doing lunge jump switches and I'm doing the standard, if he doesn't get disqualified, I lose because he did lunge jump switches. So not that I want to do lunge jump switches, but maybe I'm going to figure out how to get a little closer to the time that it took him. So that way I'm competitive later. But the line has to be established, and yeah, maybe, okay, a little higher. Okay, good. Just keep it there. All right. 6. All right. Do you not hear me? Because I said get higher and you did 1 and now we're back to low again. So now we're just going to do 5 extra burpees and you're not going to be happy, but I'm just going to keep counting 6 until you actually do it, because, and as Dave Claxton says, it doesn't get real until you rep somebody.
Yeah.
But I mean, the standards are clear enough. I mean, I did CrossFit judging for the Open one year, and it's freaking hard to count double unders and stuff, but there's very specific points that you're looking for. And like with the overhead press, if your knees are bent and your arms are locked out, that doesn't count the rep until you get the extension. So we don't even have to worry about that shit with Deka. It's like, just freaking break the plane of your head and have your heads forward or whatever. Like, get the ball over the top of your shoulder. And Matthew Davis came up to me on Sunday morning. He's like, hey man, what's up with those dead balls? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they look kind of sketchy. And I'm like, I'd like to know what you're talking about, because I don't think I did sketchy dead balls. I have no benefit of dumping off the side versus going over the top. I'm throwing the ball. So it's not any faster. It's actually worse for me to dump off the side because it doesn't land where I need it to. And he showed me, and he's like, yeah, look at these. I'm like, that one's clear. That one's good. Over the AC joint. And then one got a little close, and then one was bad. And I was like, oh, yep, you're right. That was a bad rep. And I admit it. My judge might have warned me on it. I don't remember. But do you have the other, like, 16? Like, because I guarantee you most of those, probably all of them were perfect, except the one that you caught. And hopefully that tells me that, okay, I got to be a little sharper with making sure when I get fatigued, it's over the top. So, I mean, he commended me on the spot for admitting it. I'm like, I'm not going to say you're an asshole, but show me, because everyone's always speculating. So the fact that he had the video, I'm like, oh yeah, I sharpen it up. I can do that.
And there's also a line too of that, and then creating a witch hunt too, which could also
yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, all the more reason why, as a board certified behavioral analyst, I can say that now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you don't put your foot down and have people listen to you, you are teaching them to ignore you. And having a sport where you are teaching athletes to ignore the judges is very bad precedent there. But
thanks for plugging your expertise in. That's a lot of credibility.
Yeah,
this conversation just got
right. Yeah. So being an athlete, working on your weaknesses is is hugely important. We talked about your massive strengths. Out of the 10 zones, what do you think, or 11 if you count all the running in between and everything, what would you say your weakest is? Like, where do you have room to make improvement? Because it's always about making improvement, right?
Yeah, hands down running. And that's what I'm working on. I mean, that's why I haven't done a high rocks in a while, because I haven't been able to put the running in that I want. And with all the refereeing, like I ref like 40 miles a week. I like track with my watch because I got the game, and then I tried running 40 miles a week on top of reffing 40 miles a week. And as a 230-pound guy, durability comes into play. So I'm like, what's got to go? I gotta ref those games. Like that's a huge part of my income for my family, for now. But so I'm like, okay, I got to get that cardio in elsewhere. But aside from the running, the ski erg, I know that I have a lot of opportunity there. I'm bigger and stronger than most of the field. I won't even put a percentage. But Rylan can ski way better than me in a strong. He has a higher engine. I'm strong, but it blows me up so much that I can't do what I need to do after the fact. So actually, I've known that for a while, but when I always plug everybody that's helped me as much as I can. So like Richard Diaz, I've worked with him for, I don't even know how many years now. I've been to more clinics than I can count. But I went to a running clinic this summer in August out in Nashville, or outside of Nashville. So if you want to go visit Richard Connor, or not Richard Connor, he has a great podcast. Richard Diaz, fly to Nashville. You got a great place to party, but you can go get a lot of running gait work done with Richard Diaz. But in the clinic, it was deemed a high rocks clinic because we worked on the machines and the run. So we did a VO2 max on the run, which I've done a bunch of times with them. But this is the first time I did a VO2 max test on the rower and then on the ski erg. And what I found was my heart rate zone for my run is way higher than my row and extremely higher than my ski erg. So my output, or say like if I'm running at a 165 heart rate on the run, that's equivalent to my heart rate being 150 on the ski erg. Just to make like, you can see that 15 beats is a lot, but the same amount of lactate I'm developing at both of those heart rates on the different modalities. I'm like, no shit, I'm skiing at 165 and I feel like I'm dying. But really what that feels like is if I'm running like 180, which is my max heart rate. So I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. And I could take all the data I got from Richard and apply that to my training. So my ski erg's getting better. But for me to ski, like I don't know exactly what Ryland's split is, but I'm assuming he's skiing in the low 140s. And if you look at Hunter's skiing 140 for 1,000 meters in high rocks. So I can do that. It's just gonna cost me everything I have. Right. So when you watch my Deka Strong live stream, the commentators specifically noticed my lack of great ski form, but it was all by design. I can pull like Marcus Wallace, like a behemoth, and rip that thing. And in the teams, I pull 130 or faster, but I'm only doing that for a very short interval, and I get to rest. But in the strong, I'm standing there with alligator arms, looking like I'm just like playing the drums here, but I'm hitting the paces, which I need to, which I know I'm capable of, which is like 155. I can ski 155 with a terrible standing straight arms, and I'm actually getting my heart rate down, which I'll use on the farmers and then the bike, where Rylan and probably Kent, I'm sure his skier is way better than mine too. That all plays into my role. So for me, I can get much better at the skier, and that's just more hours of volume. Anyone that's an expert at anything, 10,000 hour rule. I don't have the 10,000 hours on the skier yet, but I have 2 of them. So I got time. Yeah. And the 130, like that really came about this year. I haven't been able to pull 130 consistently for teams before until this year. So that's gotten way better. So now I just slowly pull down my my Deka Strong pace from 155 to maybe 152 or something, and then I'll be on the underside of 150 next year at some point, and that'll save me 6-7 seconds. Which, when you get to be pretty good at strong, 1 second improvement is massive.
Pivoting a little bit to your gym now. I know it's only December, so I don't know how much you have planned for next year, but have you started taking a look at like when you plan to have your own events? Because in case we haven't been specific, the Deka Fits are specifically run by Spartan/Deka, but for the mile and the strong, other than the World Championships, these are at the Deka affiliated gyms only, which you are obviously one of them.
Oh, thanks for asking. So we don't have it on the books yet, although it might be by the time this podcast comes out, because for the last 3 months, every time everyone asks me that, I'll be like, I'm worried about Deka Worlds. Ask Jess. Maybe she knows. I'm only doing Deka Worlds. But we actually had a conversation last night about putting it in. We had a nice Deka strong / underdog Christmas party last year, but
Nice.
that was when Deka World Champs was in November. So it's too late to plan that for December. So we're looking at the end of January, probably the 27th, that Saturday. So keep an eye out. Registration will open. We'll be on our Instagram and stuff. And then anyone that comes to the race will be invited to stick around for the underdog Christmas party. So BYOB, whatever that means for you. And if you need to camp out, we have heat and some air matches. But who knows? That's my birthday weekend, so I figured that'd be a good time.
Okay.
So that's what we plan. And then usually for the other events throughout the year, they don't really roll them out until it's like 2.5 months out, because they want to like get the excitement when it's kind of close. So we haven't picked our dates, but even when we do pick our dates, you probably won't see them roll out until it's closer to the launch date.
Okay. And that was also a selfish question too, because Kayla and I vowed that like our first Deka, either mile or strong, like will be at Underdog Fitness. So
I'm honored.
So yeah, we're very excited. We're going to be keeping our eyes out and saving the date as soon as you have it there too. Where can people follow along more with you and your gym?
So for me, Bubbles the Clown on Instagram, and that has an E at the end. You'll know it when you find me. And then the gym is Underdog Fitness Gym, underdogfitness.us, something like that. It'll be a green kettlebell with a Boston Terrier. You'll know it when you find it. But if you go on the Bubbles the Clown page, you'll definitely be able to find it.
Underdog _fitness US.
Thanks, Mike. I don't know what our freaking handle is. I just know how to log into it, and everyone tags us, so they find us. And then we also have a YouTube. So I think that's Underdog Fitness also. So I don't put a ton of stuff on the YouTube on a regular basis, but there's so many great resources there for you that hasn't done their first Deka, or you have, and you want to get better. And I think what else I really appreciate is all the people I met this year, because I went to a bunch of Deka Fits across the country, coming up to me that I've never met before, and they didn't know me, but they somehow stumbled across my content on how to get better at Deka, period. And they watched my videos and they put them into place and they PR'd, and now they're here competing. And that just makes me know that I'm doing something good for the community. And if you have videos, ideas, then please let me know, because my creative brain works in spurts. I do really well for a period of time, and then it kind of fizzles and I do other things. So if you have other ideas, like I did a whole series on how to train for Deka with no equipment, because I was living in Florida in an apartment with an apartment gym and had no Deka stuff. And also did a series on how to be good at all the equipment when you have it, and then how to train leading up to it if it's a long time out or less time out. And there's a bunch of good stuff in there. So definitely check out those videos. They're on Reels, I think, on Underdog Fitness, but the bigger, longer versions are on YouTube.
Yeah, and real quick, I wanted to commend you on that too, because again, I don't follow hybrid racing as closely, but we say like OCR is a new sport. This is an actual new sport. And when it comes to content in terms of like learning how to get better at this, I would say there's you, Rich Ryan, I think does a good job. And then you two are the only really big ones that I know of. And I think you did an excellent job. And it's in a way that like someone like me can understand too. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, Rich does some Deka stuff. He's very good at the high rock stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's where his focus is. But I mean, a lot of it overlaps because a lot of the stuff is similar. But I mean, if you get a PhD in freaking hybrid racing by just watching our two stations, because the detail we go into is some, like, you watch it and you're like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Didn't think of that. And a lot of stuff I've learned is from him, and he's learned stuff from me. And then, but through his own lens. So he hears me say something and he's like, oh my God, this is why that works, or let me add on that. And so even though we haven't collabed on anything, his page is very good on that.
And then plug your other more virtual coaching that I can personally attest to as well.
Oh, thanks. All right. So Underdog Fitness, obviously we have a physical gym, but most of our clients are not local. So they travel here for our events, and then they'll come here for training camps or whatever. But for the most part, they're training at home throughout their own gym. So we have online training. We have one-on-one training, which is pretty full right now and filling out even faster since what happened on Sunday. But we are, the last 2 years, we took applications to apply to be part of our Podium Chasers program. Year one, we had 5 athletes. We selected them. They killed it. Year 2, we took another crop and they friggin' rocked even more. And the first year guys stepped up their game. This year, we're changing the program a bit just because of the sheer volume of people who've already reached out looking for help. And we are working on a couple things. You'll have to stay tuned, but that way we can handle more of the masses of demand and with good quality. Because I don't know if you've ever worked in business, scalability is huge. It's easy to build a bunch of things, but if you can't give the quality to people, then it's useless. So keep an eye out on that. But our Podium Chaser, which will be rebranded, I don't know the name yet, so I didn't tell you. The application will be launching very soon. So apply. Even if you don't think you're worthy, apply. That way we can have a conversation and see if you fit any of our programs, or I can direct you to a coach that is good for your needs, whether it's Spartan, High Rocks, Deka, whatever it is. I have a great relationship with a lot of coaches in the space, and I kind of know a bit about who fits better with what kind of personality and whatnot. So happy to redirect you to the best place for you.
Awesome. And then any sponsors or people that you'd like to thank?
Well, I'll start with my mom. I know she's not going to listen to this because she doesn't do podcasts, but no, there are a few sponsors. I got to shout out Corinna Coffin. She got my nutrition like super sharp coming into this, and the Deka team. Stride, I mentioned earlier, the Stride Tech shorts. I've got so much data from that. Powerlifts, they've sponsored like our last 5 events, and everyone here has had a nice power lift when they finish. Athletic Brew's been very cool to us over the years. Dot Fit, which is a supplement company out of California. The owner of that got on the phone with me. I have a relationship with him for years, but he spent some time when I was doing some research earlier this year to optimize my like supplement plan. This guy he's not a doctor, but he always claims to be the smartest guy that the doctors want to talk to. And that was huge. But I could rattle off a ton, but that's the top of mind. I always forget until I got to get better at this. My thank you speech.
Oh, good. I mean, there's lots of people, and that's the best problem you can really have there, right?
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to Obstacle Racing Adventures Pro team member Kelly Sullivan.
Oh, love her.
For her podium. She won the Deka Fit individual, and then didn't get to go to her podium because she was out running the Go Ruck Elite. So shout out to her for that and the Obstacle Racing Adventures team.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, proud of you as always, just even more so. God damn it. It's just swept. And thanks for taking the time to talk to me, man.
Love you, Mike. Say that, Caitlin, and can't wait to hear the intro and outro of this episode, because I'm sure you'll come up with other great things to flower around it.
Perfect.
Welcome back.
Thank you to Kevin Gregory. Highly recommend checking out Underdog Fitness and his other training as available too. For related episodes, episode 235 was Bubbles the Clown, aka Kevin Gregory, on Underdog Fitness, Deka Strong, and more. That was a couple years ago. This is also related to Deka Fit. We had Rylan Shadegg on the show for episode 296. It was Rylan Shadegg on winning Spartan North American Championship, Palm Beach Deka Fit, and Faith. Episode 301 was OCR World Championships team relay races and 100-meter finals with elites. Kevin was on that show.
Episode 309 is the Deka World Championship with Tara Jackson,
who we had last year.
Episode 358 is the World's Toughest Mudder 2023, Part 1 community dinner and race interviews.
Yeah, and then Bubbles was there, and we talked extensively, and I had him on the show.
How many miles did he do at World's Toughest Mudder?
Not many. He was mainly doing like a couple laps in the daytime. I finished up the lap. I think it was so he could get his Holy Grail.
Did he do 35 miles?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Oh, so I can beat Kevin Gregory
technically,
too?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think more than anything, he was helping pit for other people. He definitely didn't want to get hurt for his main sport. Links down below. Would you kindly check those out?
Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are Obstacle Running Adventures, and leave us a review.
Yeah.
Follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Kind of give up on Threads. This is my first time admitting that. You can also support us over on Patreon for as little as $2, as many as $10. Now is the time to definitely support, because we do a lot of fun stuff with the patrons for this time of the year. Coming up next, I plan to have a Spartan World Championships interview. that does depend on athlete availability. Obviously, there's going to be some time zone issues because with this being an international event, I would like to have an international athlete on, but we will see. Caitlin, do you have a joke or a quote?
I do. My quote says, I hope you learn how to be proud of the person you are becoming. I hope you learn how to be proud of where you are, even if it isn't exactly where you want to be. I hope you learn to fall in love with the process, with the messiness of life and the confusion of it all. At the end of the day, I hope you find what you're looking for out there. I hope this life inspires you.
Nice. And the morning corny.
Stop. You can't tell the people the source of my jokes. How does a sheep say Merry Christmas?
I don't know.
Feliz Navidad.
Nice.
That was it.
Okay. That just about wraps it up. My name's Michael Stefano.
And my name's Caitlin Ritter.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a review.
Or reach out to us on social media at Obstacle Running Adventures.
Don't forget to subscribe.
so you can stay up to date with our latest episodes.
Please be sure to share our show with a friend
so we can reach more ears and more effectively continue to shine a light on the people in our sport,
as well as the events we are so passionate about.
Our intro song is Streaker by Straight Up.
And our outro music is Iron Paw by The Best.
Agree to all. Love the sweater, Mike.
Hey, thank you. Honestly, I wore it to a work meeting that we had, and it's too small. I can't take it off. So.
Oh, funny. That's the joke becomes more fun. That's great. I felt a little bit like Ash Ketchum this weekend because I was trying to catch them all those podium, all those wins, all these bad boys.
Usually it's like tough, like figuring out like, oh, what picture do I want to use? But like with 100% certainty, I want to use the picture of you sleeping and using that as a pillow because I think that's the best. That's a good one. All right, I gotta go. This week-old latte is starting to backfire a little bit, and